Wanted to do a video about the recent stuff in the market since I pay attention to that sort of thing. And as you can see, this month has been very difficult. We started here, this area, we're now here. Which, to put it simply, is not good. It's a dump from about, almost 30,000 all the way down to 20. So it's like a third. It's like a 30% decrease. I think it was like 27 or something percent decrease in price, which is not good at all. But there's some perspective I think that we need to take into account. So I've got some notes here, and that is the idea that perhaps this is good for structural change. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that in 2008, there was a financial crisis. And instead of allowing bad businesses to collapse and legacy systems to get taken over by new systems, they propped up the old financial system. And what does this mean? Well, it means that we essentially delayed the inevitable. We delayed legacy systems like legacy banking systems, legacy credit, that type of thing, from being financially restructured and just in general terms restructured. And also it delayed the structural change needed in the government, because when you prop up businesses and the economy starts picking up again, what happens is people go, well, we'll vote for the same people because it looks like we're in a recovery. So we'll vote for the same people. And obviously Trump came around at some point and people are like, well, it doesn't appear that the change affected me personally, so they voted for Trump. Now, obviously, he kicked the can down the road with the tax breaks on the wealthy and on big businesses. And here we are. So my opinion is this is probably good that this falling out happens, because I don't think they can save it again. I don't think that even this $1 trillion package that they're thinking about throwing at the market is going to save it, because the coronavirus, which, mind you, has spreaded substantially to the US. We already have 1,000 cases, 1,300, and we're not even really testing that effectively right now. So it's here to stay. And also, the rest of the world, not to mention. But they're not going to be able to just pay their way out of that, because that's not just a financial collapse. That's not just a people can't pay their loans collapse. That's a production gets hit immensely. We saw in China what happened with production when the coronavirus happened is they quarantined people and their manufacturing sector essentially got shut down. So my opinion is that there will be a collapse of sorts here, and not necessarily a full market collapse, but there will be a collapse. And I believe that good systems will stay around, which is very important moving forward, because there's a lot of bad, decrepit legacy systems that are still around right now. Okay, now, the other thing that happens is that structural change is a lot easier to achieve when people agree. And what I mean by that is that when people's 401ks are going up, like it was a few months ago, it went up all the way from here where Trump was elected to here, which is a change of about 10,000 on the Dow Jones, which is significant. People feel good. They feel good when the retirement's going up, and they say, "Oh, those young people, they just want change because they haven't, they're not old enough. They haven't succeeded yet. They're just struggling with, being young and inexperienced." This is the type of thing they tell themselves. And then when this happens, suddenly, they have a different tune, which they play to, because it no longer benefits them. It's now hurting them. So it's possible that out of this, a structural change can occur in how we structure this economy for the modern era, and that people will be on board, because when things are going good, people are divided. Some people aren't, doing so well, and they get mad at people who are doing really well, and the people who are doing really well say, well, what's the problem? You can make it in this market, kind of thing. And there's a stagnation that doesn't get anything done. And one of the reasons that I think that the structural change has to take place is because of this. This is the intergenerational wealth gap. And essentially what it is here's the median cohort age. So what that means is the age of each generation. So millennials are on average about 33 right now, or 32. And at the moment, we have about 3% of the wealth, it looks like. I think that's what I was reading. And when baby boomers were about 35, which is right here, they had approximately 20% of the wealth. So you can extrapolate backwards and say that probably they had 15% of the wealth at a time when we have 3% of the wealth, when they were in the same period, which means that millennials are about, what is that, 5 times poorer than baby boomers were when they were the same age. And Generation X, even though they weren't a lot better off, they were decently better off, about double what millennials are currently. So you can see they're at about 5-6%. Millennials are at like 3. So anyways, this points out the problem. The problem is that the wealth distribution is all wrong. And it's been essentially that way because, I believe, the 2008 financial crisis. But it also existed before that because, as you can see, the Generation X's wealth trajectory is at an angle that is less than the baby boomers by a significant margin, and the millennials are even worse off. By the time millennials are like 60, they'll have 10% of the wealth share at this rate, which is absurd. Of course, that's not completely true because things vary, and you tend to earn more as you get older. So it'll probably go up something like this. So they might have 20% of the wealth when they're 55. But anyways, and this is actually a really big problem because these two generations got massively crushed by the financial crisis in 2008, and the structure that the economy currently is in does not provide for this type of wealth growth that you see happening in the baby boomers. So that's the sort of thing that I'm hoping to see happen out of all of this. And other than that, I don't really have any other comments or ideas on the economy right now. Just that all markets are selling at the moment, it appears, and there's a lot of things getting shut down, a lot of logistics. So don't expect this to just disappear in 3 months. I think we've got a ways ahead of us. So anyways, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching.